Cool. I think we are recording. Awesome. So just to sort of reiterating from what I had said in the town hall, every Monday we'll have these sessions for reviewing web concepts, basically. And today we're going to start from the very beginning. I think this is actually the first lesson you ever saw at Pursuit. We're just going to revisit some of that stuff and see some extra. These sessions are to keep sharp and to keep reiterating things that we might have forgotten from a year plus now that you saw it for the first time. Some of the things that are going to be fresher because there were things that you just kept using. Some things you're going to realize that you had completely forgotten. And that's the purpose of these sessions, to remember those things, to just have more tools in your toolkit at the end of the day. This will be every Monday, 7 to 9. Actually, some sessions I think might take a bit less than that, maybe an hour and a half, max 2 hours. And then making a greater effort to make this as much hands-on as possible, and the least me talking about it. So hopefully I have some exercises prepared for today, and there's also, I found a cool sort of command line game that I thought was pretty interesting. It's actually pretty simple, but also interesting. What else? So yeah, this will be every Monday. The first Monday of the month will be slightly different, where we will, I call it, you should have already received it in your calendars, monthly, that will be the first Monday of the month will be the monthly demo night, where you can come and demo projects that you're working on, technologies you're learning. I can also, as I'm doing stuff on the side for myself, like database migrations, I can come demo that as well. For example, Jonathan was talking about his video game. Even though it's written in C#, he could share the screen and demo parts of it. And the point of it is, one, receive feedback from peers about what you're working on. Two, there is something in the example where you're like showing something that you're learning. Let's say I know that a bunch of you have been like playing with some Python, for example. So you could also come and show demo to us and what you're doing in Python, in your thoughts about how it compares to JavaScript. And when you have to speak, when you have to explain something, it's just a different mindset. Your brain goes on and helps you remember things better. Also, a third objective of those monthly nights are to provide and cultivate the sense of community that Pursuit and the Web 6.2 and 6.4 classes are. So you can see what your peers are working on. And if you're feeling a bit demotivated, maybe coming as an spectator can help you brainstorm ideas or regain motivation to start a new project or whatever it is. Even just connect with peers and see each other. I think when I just started this call, Kevin and Siham had him talking a bit, and it was that could be also that space where you come reconnect with peers. But that will be, again, that monthly demo will be the first Monday of the month. If you're interested in showing us something, teaching us something, demoing something, just reach out and let's make it happen. I can help you structure if you're not too sure about what you would like to demo, etc. So that will be the structure on Mondays. Web review. I had shared the calendar. Well, let's take a quick review of that. If I can find it very briefly. Actually, I don't think I have it here. Oh, I know where I have it. I'm using an external keyboard. I was getting some used to it. But yeah, we'll start today with looking at the command line, seeing some commands that we saw, some others that we didn't. The next Monday will be that monthly demo night. I am talking to a few of the fellows that will come demo what they're working on. Again, if you're interested, just message me on Slack. The next section will be quick looking back at value types and operators in JavaScript. Again, I want to make this as much hands-on as possible. So you come and remember how to do an OR operator, or how to do, or what happens when you try to add true to a number, etc. Then we'll look at JavaScript functions. We'll talk a little bit about ES5 and ES6, which I think most of you are writing ES6 already. You might still find, once you get a job, legacy code that will be written in ES5, etc. No, we'll look at arrays. I feel like, you have learned a lot during this past year and a half. And I think just going back over some of these topics can help you with that new perspective you have now. Just be able to understand the concept, which, much more better and in depth. For example, like arrays. And I think there we can talk about how they're implemented in memory, the methods, etc. So that's what we'll have. Any initial questions about that introduction? Okay, so let's get onto it. So the command line, who could share what they think is the command line, or what comes to mind when you hear the command line? Or the command line interface? Anyone? Just unmute yourself. What comes to mind when you hear the command line interface?
You kind of already said it, but terminal.
Okay. Terminal. What else? Anyone else?
Like back-end computer controls, like being able to go in like deeper into the computer.
Let's say control the computer. Yes, Nobler?
Like a way to access like interfaces of applications where you can really like modify and configure that are not necessarily available through like a GUI, like a graphical interface.
Modify and configure. Okay. Anything else? Anyone else? Cool. Yes. So the command line interface, is a way in which you can control the computer. You can modify any of its settings. You can configure it in any way. And also, all of these are synonyms. So in fact, we could just do for our purposes, we can say that all of these are synonyms, and they basically all do this: control, modify, and configure the computer. Cool. Also, I really like to put emphasis on this word. Is an interface. And an interface, let's see where the word comes from. Okay, actually, this definition is a good one. This is interface, a point where two systems, subjects, organizations, etc., meet and interact. This is the definition of interface. And then in computer, a device or program enabling a user to communicate with a computer. This is exactly our point. And if we go back to this more general definition, a point where two systems, subjects, organization meet and interact. What are the two systems that are interacting in the command line interface of a computer? What do you think? So I guess an interface involves two parties. Who are the two parties in our command line interface? You know, I accept speculation as well. It doesn't have to, you know, there's actually no right or wrong answer for this. Okay. So the two systems that are interacting here is one system is the computer, and the other system is you as the user, right? And this command line interface is what lets you communicate, what lets you communicate with the computer, but at the same time, is a two-way street. The computer communicates to you through the command line as well, by printing stuff, by making sounds, etc. Cool. So that's the command line interface. Is a mechanism that allows to communicate with the computer in broader terms. Actually, let's organize this. Control, communicate. My handwriting is especially bad today. And I'm missing a map. Let's move this here. Cool. Okay. Nilbert alluded to a GUI, right? Or a graphical user interface. Interface still has the same meaning there. It's just a system, a platform of communication. It's just that in a graphical user interface, it's graphical, right? So there are graphics in the screen, like this green button, or these little tabs that I can click on, etc. There are mostly buttons, things you can drag, etc. That's the graphical user interface. And those we create when we're building apps with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. In fact, I think React, if we go to React, let's see. Yeah, React, the sort of, what's it called? The motto or the tagline is a JavaScript library for building user interfaces. So when you build a React app, you're building a user interface, and that is a graphical user interface. React, I don't know of anyone who has used React to build a command line interface. And the internet is so wild that I wouldn't be surprised if anyone has tried. But yeah, with React, you're building graphical user interfaces for the web. So there is a connection then with interface. Cool. So the command line interface. So we basically have, we can think of the computer as, someone in the computer that is the CPU, which it understands only numbers and ones and zeros and electrical pulses. And then there is a bunch of other components. There is the memory RAM, and a whole bunch of other stuff, right? And this is the computer. On wrapping all those parts, there is something called the operating system. The operating system you can imagine as this sort of layer outside. That the operating system, it takes care of allocated memory. For example, just when you open a new tab in Chrome and you search for something, all this text and all of the things that appear in the screen they exist in memory. This text for Adele's song is being stored as a string somewhere in the physical memory. And all of that happened because of the operating system. Let's call it the OS. Let's say this is the hardware. And the OS or the operating system asks the computer, through Chrome, asks the computer, hey, I need some space to save all this information in memory. And then the OS was the one. So actually, in here, Chrome will sit kind of here. Chrome sits here. Chrome asks the OS, give me some memory, I need to save something. The OS asks the hardware to allocate that physical space in memory. So what I'm saying is, what I'm giving you this introduction is because the command line interface also operates here, sort of with Chrome. And the command line interface, we can ask things of the OS, the operating system, in the same way that we do it with Chrome. And as Milber alluded also, you're able to do things with the command line interface that you cannot do with other programs or with graphical user interfaces. What is an example? An example is, well, I had this problem once where my Wi-Fi wouldn't let me turn it off. I don't remember if it was literally like turning it off or on. And I was clicking this button like crazy, but it was just not letting me. And then I Googled how to disable the network from the command line interface. And then I found a command that I typed in, and that command did work. It did let me turn off my Wi-Fi. So generally, the command line interface is more powerful. You have to you may have to do a lot of research or jump through a few hoops to get things to work, because everything is more manual. But you can do a lot more with the command line interface than with the graphical user interface. So that's the graphical user interface.
I'm glad you say that, Alejo, because
yeah,
I have had this issue with my Mac with the Bluetooth, which I haven't even like bothered to like look into because I'm just like it just. because I feel like I did at some point restart and it wasn't working. I'm like, oh, this thing is old. But that, like, I should actually look and see if I can
Yeah,
reset
absolutely.
Bluetooth.
And I know that I can actually, I think I could actually, if I open my terminal here, this is the command that I run. But I don't know if it will be the same one for Bluetooth, but this one is called network setup. And then here's how you set it to off: set airport power EM0 off. And then we can talk about the rest, which is wait for 10 seconds and then turn it back on. Sometimes I do this when, like, if my internet is behaving, or I'm not sure if I have network access. I just restart it. Yeah. Okay. So, any questions or thoughts about anything that I've said there? Okay. So path prompt arguments, we'll get back to those once we look a bit more in depth. So I want you to think for a second about the command that you use the most in the terminal. What is the most common command that you use in the terminal? Take a minute to think about it. Okay. Now, does anyone give me a thumbs up if you have if you think you have the command you use the most? Okay, see a thumbs up. 2, 3, and then there is 3 of you that I'm not sure. I didn't see the thumbs up. Okay, I guess since we're a small group, let's go. Does anyone want to share what theirs are? Maybe Kevin, you go first. What's the command you feel like you use the most?
LS.
Okay. What does ls do?
Prints the folders in the current file that I'm in.
Mm-hmm. Print folders and files, actually. Okay. In the current. Okay. And who else was thinking of ls?
I was, but I think I use CD more than LS.
Okay.
Yeah, same.
Awesome. What does CD do, John?
It allows you to change directory, to go from one folder to another.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And yes, and that's actually, I'm glad that you said that, because that's actually what it stands for, right? CD, change directory. And also directory and folder are or synonyms here. Cool. Okay. Anyone thought of any other command?
Mkdir.
Okay. What does that one do, Jonathan?
Make directory.
That's right. Make or create. Cool.
I do that in the command line when I'm too lazy to right click and put create folder.
Awesome. Yep. Also, I think mkdir also can let you. This is like an example where the command line is more powerful. Mkdir, as I like to call it, lets you create multiple folders at the same time, which is something you cannot do with the graphical user interface. You have to right click, create new folder, right click, create new folder each time. But Mkdir, in one line, you can create as many directories as you want. So that's a small example where already the terminal is more powerful. Where did this jump here? Okay. Cool. Actually, now that we're sort of in this, what are other commands you know, so that we sort of maybe review them, but go rather quickly, and we think about the ones that maybe you forgot. What other commands? Anyone?
PWD.
Okay. Right. I think, how many people answered the poll? I think I saw your vote, Joanne, which were correct. PWD, and what does this do?
Print working directory.
Print working directory, right? Okay, what else?
RM.
Oh, I think I saw that. I saw that in the chat. That was you? Sorry, and there's the current. Okay, RM. What does that do?
Removes a file or directory.
Remove or delete a file or directory. Cool. With RM, sometimes you wanna be careful, just because RM, when you delete something with RM, is gone forever. You cannot get it back. It doesn't go to the trash. So that is like another thing with some commands, that because they're more powerful, you might have to think twice before you hit enter. Cool. Okay, any other one?
There is touch.
Touch.
Create a new
And what?
file.
Create a new file. Okay. I think, Joanne, you said also something.
I said LA.
One more time.
LA.
LA. Like that?
Yeah.
Wait, I'm not sure if this one is one. What does this one do?
It's similar to L, but it lists everything. Like ls lists whatever's in a directory.
Okay, but I think you might be talking about LA as options for the list. for the
Yeah.
LS.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So we'll get into those. Cool. Any other that anyone can think about?
There was one cool one I learned, netstat, to look at all the open network connections, I think, and open ports.
That one is an interesting one.
And then, and I
netstat.
guess, yeah, and I guess also like to run applications like Node or like Python or.
Cool. Actually, and I don't know, I think netstat might be okay. Because I know sometimes I get confused with the one on Windows.
Yeah, it's a Mac thing. It's a.
But Windows has one that's similarly named that is used a lot for scamming attacks. Yeah. Never ever answer, when you go to websites and then they say like a pop-up shows up that says that you have virus and you should call a number. Never call those numbers. They will try to scam you in thinking that your computer has virus and then you have to transfer money. I guess like never transfer money to anyone you don't know in the internet. Cool. Yep. So netstat is to see the active connections. Oops, why doesn't? Or print active connections. This one we don't use much, but it's interesting because let's take a look again. So it looks like I'm connected LGA. I'm connected to some server on LaGuardia. I think this might be the Google server. These others, yeah, like it's hard to decipher exactly what they are. EC2. I know EC2 is something that Amazon has, so maybe I'm connected to something there as well. Oh, you can see I'm connected to LastPass, which is my password manager, and this can show us that. Yeah, I think this is my local address. This is the address of my computer. Oh, and it just finished for some reason there. But yeah, that one is interesting. And just running any command or any program like Node. Cool. All right. So let's see. Let me look here at my notes. Okay, so I feel like LS and CD are bread and butter, as a lot of what we do has to do with inspecting files and moving around. So with that, I wanted to provide a bit more context on those commands and how they operate, or on what they operate rather. We have, let's see. Okay, I'm gonna go. Okay, actually, from here, let's say, has anyone heard of the home directory? And what do you think that is? The home directory. Has anyone heard of a home directory? Have you ever come across that terminology? Give me a thumbs up if you have. Okay, so that's fine. So it turns out that a user on a computer has by default a folder for themselves. And that folder is known as the home directory. So for example, my home directory is, and this is true on all Macs, is /cd/users/Alejandro. This is my home directory. I don't think there is another. We'll see. Actually, let me go to /users. I don't know if there is other users in this computer. I think I might have another user. I'm going to do ls to list. Yeah. So you can see that there are two folders. Well, there are actually technically three. One called Alejandro, one called Pursuit. This is because there's two user accounts registering this computer. One for me, one for Pursuit. And each one of those users' account gets their own folder. So that is the home directory. So I'm going to go cd Alejandro. Now I'm in my home directory. So how do you know if you're in your home directory? There's two ways of knowing. One is this little tilde or the squiggly line, whatever you want to call it. That means your home directory. So this tilde is the same as users/your username. That's your home directory.
Is it the same to say root, like a root directory in a way, or no? Because that's specifically like the home directory is like the root directory of the computer, but you can have like multiple root, like it's not necessarily equivalent, the terms.
Yeah, so root depends on the context we're talking about. Because for example, if I just clone a project from GitHub, I could say, I'm gonna go to the root directory of the project and then install the dependencies, right? But then there, the root means the top level folder for the project, right? But you're going to something else, which is also the computer itself. There is a root or the they have the sort of global root, and that root is just the slash. If I do cd slash here, I'm at the top, and I'm at the top of this tree that I'm going to draw in a second, which is the slash. I cannot go any higher than this. So if, for example, if I do cd dot dot, actually, what does cd dot dot do? How would you describe it? Anyone?
It takes you out of the directory or the folder.
That's right. And also another way to put it is it takes you to the parent of the current directory. It takes you out of the current directory and to the parent of it, right? If we do cd dot dot, there is no parent of the root. I guess that's another way of putting it. The root is the directory for which there is no parent. Now, notice that I'm talking here about parent, and then therefore there should be child or children, etc. So, and the answer is there is those relationships. So you now have the concept of trees as a data structure, right? Which has nodes, and then there is one node can have children nodes, a left and a right, for example, etc. So it turns out that the computer has a tree data structure for keeping its folders and files. And that is called the file system, or the file system tree. This is why it's called the root. At the very top, of this tree, which I'm gonna draw here. I'm gonna say, let's do it maybe here. File system tree. Oops. So at the top of this tree, we have the root, which is, we have a node. We can think about it as a node. That's just the slash. Cool. So this is the root because it's the topmost directory. Now, what command can we see to discover the, what command can we use to discover the children of the root directory? What do you think?
ls.
ls.
Exactly. So ls, let me see if I can draw a circle. Oh, that's a square. An ellipse, so I have to type B. Okay, B is the shortcut for, so yes, we're gonna have like a lot, but we're not gonna write them all. Oops, let me see. Cool. So we run ls in here. So I'm gonna go to the root directory. I'm already at the root directory. Also, if you do pwd, you get the same because it's already the root directory. And now here I'm gonna do ls, and I have this. I have all these are the children of the home of the root directory. I have applications library, system, users, volume, bean, cores, dev, etc, home. I don't know. Actually, this might be, you see how they're in a different color for me? That usually means that they are sort of links, but not actual folders, or this is not their actual location, but opt, private, and sbin. Sbin, tmp, usr, var. So here we can say we saw users, so users is one. We saw etc is one. So volumes is one. And et cetera, et cetera. Cool. And now this is our tree. Okay. Now, if you, let's put this here. Let's see if this works. Okay. And we can keep exploring the system in that way. So let's say I want to, what would I need to do if I want to explore the children of users? What would I need to do?
cd into user.
Okay, cd into users. And then what?
ls.
And then ls. And we have the children of users. I'm gonna say ls -la to see what this is. Okay, so it is a directory. It's just that maybe because I'm not the owner, it shows it like that. Okay, so we basically have then, we have three children here. We have Alejandro, we have Pursuit, and we have Share. Cool. And let's keep going. So I'm gonna go to Alejandro, and then I'm gonna do ls here. This is gonna be a lot. I'm not gonna list them all. But we basically have this, and then Alejandro has a bunch of stuff. has applications. Also, does any, I'm realizing one thing, which is I have colors enabled in my terminal. So I'm able to tell which ones are files from which ones are directories. Do you all have colors as well? Or when you do, like when you do ls, do you see everything in one color?
I got everything in one color.
Okay. Thank you. And Joanne, I think I saw you now as well. Okay, so maybe I could send some instructions for how to set it up so you can have colors. I think is very helpful just to be able to tell them apart. It makes it more easier to read. I think you're probably, let's say, oh, you see it like this, just in black. Well, I guess one trick I can show you right now is if you want to know which ones are files and tell them apart from which ones are directories, you could do ls -la, and this will list them in a list like this. That's what the L stands for, list. So basically one file per line, and you also get more information. And A means all, so that it even shows hidden files whose names start with a dot. For example, you see this Angular config JSON that I didn't even know I had. That was not showing up here because it's a hidden file, because its name start with a period. But so that's what LI is. But going back to the original point, how do you know whether something is a file or a directory? You could check the first column here. And if the first column is a D, that means directory. So let's go to like applications. Applications is a directory. For example, there is this linked list PNG file that is not a directory. You can see that the D is not specified there. So this is a way in which you can tell them apart. Cool. Any questions or thoughts about that? Okay. So I'm gonna exit from here. And I'll send out the resource. I think we updated the instructions in our documentation. So I think the 7.0 fellows did some setup for getting the colors in the terminal, just because they're helpful. So I think I could just send you there. Okay, let's see. So what have we seen so far? So we were looking at the tree data structure here. So it's had ls. So we have applications. We have desktop. We have, what else? We have code is one of my favorite folders. And then we have like that. And then in code, I know I have an application. I have my capstone project, which is called Game On. And I have a whole bunch of other stuff as well that I'm just going to represent here with a dot. But do we see how this is being a tree? Right? And this tree is the file system tree. So now you know that when, for example, let's say I want to go into Game On. Also, now you also have the concept of pointers, right? So and this is what I was saying earlier, where now you have so much more context that you're able to understand things at a slightly deeper level. So you understand about concepts, about pointers, for example. So right now, this is as if I had a pointer pointing to my home directory, which is this place, right? And when I do cd code, now the pointer, goes to point to code, basically, right? Now my current folder is code. And basically what I have here in the terminal is a pointer to that place in the tree, or that place in the file system, right? Any thoughts or questions on that?
Can we do the CD code / game on? Go straight.
Yes. So like from here to move to game on. Game on. And now I'm pointing to the game on directory. Now let me ask you this. What if we wanted to, so right now our pointer is pointing to game on. This is our current location. What if I wanted to go to pursuit? And actually, I'm not sure if that's gonna let me do that, but let's try it anyway. Or actually, let's see. Let's do this. Instead of going to pursuit, I'm gonna go to, I have another folder in my desktop called Zoom backgrounds. So this I have Zoom backgrounds. Let's say we wanted to go from game on to Zoom backgrounds. How could I do that?
We do CD to dot to go back to the code first and then.
Okay, so we're here. Now we're in code. Let's do it sort of conceptually first.
And then you have to CD another time.
CD what?
2 dot.
2 dots, okay. That takes us to where?
To Alejandro down.
Okay, now we're here.
And then CD desktop / Zoom.
Okay, does that make sense for everyone? Okay, so yes, exactly that. We could do cd ... which was the first. So note how cd ... takes us to the parent. This is what I was saying earlier. It takes us to the parent of game on, which is code. Cool. Now we're in code. Now we do cd ... again to go to the parent of code, which is Alejandro. And now in Alejandro, we can do cd desktop. And now once in desktop, we can do cd Zoom backgrounds. And now we're in Zoom backgrounds. And if I do ls, we see all my Zoom backgrounds. Okay. Questions or thoughts about that? Okay. So we could do that. You saw I executed how many? 1, 2, 3, 4 commands or 4 CDs. We could also, I'm gonna go back to game on. Cool. So you could also, Okay, that's actually a good segue for the next point. So we're now in game on. We could also go to zoom backgrounds in one command by specifying a path. So this is a point that I'm now trying to make here, talking about the path. So the path to zoom backgrounds we can describe by using slashes, periods, and the name of the folders we want to go to. So you can think of the path as an address as well. So we could do that if we say, okay, cd ... I want to go to the parent of game on, which is code. And after I'm there, so I'm gonna use a slash as the path separator. Once I'm there, I want to actually go to the parent of that. So the parent of that is Alejandro, which I also do 2 dots. So I move from game on to code, from code to Alejandro. Now I'm in Alejandro. So from here, I can then go down to desktop by saying desktop. And then from within desktop, I want to go to zoom backgrounds. Now, this is a path. In the path, basically, you could think of it as the names of the nodes separated by slash, and using .dot for parent folders. You cannot refer to the parents by their name. When you refer to it by the name, you can only refer to the children by their name, not the parents. So here, again, I went from game on to code, which is the parent, and then the parent of code is Alejandro, and then the children. Once I want to, this you can think also about going up. Once you have reached the height you want, then to go down, you go by the names. So desktop first, and then zoom backgrounds. And if I hit enter, and I do ls, I'm back at my zoom backgrounds. Okay, so this is a path. So when you read how to seed a database, and we say you execute psql-f and the path of the SQL file, that's what we're referring to. You can think of this as the path or the location of something in your file system. Questions or thoughts on that? Cool. So that's the path. There is one point that I want to make in paths is there are relative paths and absolute paths. This is a relative path. You know that it's a relative path because it doesn't start with the slash. It starts with the dot or the 2 dots. So this is a relative path because we're saying wherever I am, it doesn't really matter where I am. I want to go to the parent of that, and then from there to the parent of that. And it doesn't matter where I am. That's why it's called a relative path. An absolute path. Let's go back. I'm going to go back to my previous location. You can go back to your previous location if you do cd hyphen. cd hyphen takes you back to your previous location. My previous location was code game on. So I'm back at game on. Now I'm going to go to zoom backgrounds, but with an absolute path. So absolute paths start from the root, and they start with the slash. Therefore, start with the slash, I should say. So if I want to go to the zoom backgrounds, but now using an absolute path, then I could do cd, then starting from the root, just slash users slash Alejandro slash desktop slash zoom backgrounds. This is then an absolute path. Note also that absolute path starts with the slash, and you don't have any dots in it. And if I hit enter, now I'm in my desktop Zoom backgrounds folder. Questions or thoughts about that? So there's basically two ways of navigation. One is using relative paths or absolute paths. Usually it's easier to do it with relative paths because a lot of it is just where you are and where you want to go. And also absolute paths are difficult to remember. In a complicated system, like if you have folder within folders, you need to know each and every level to be able to tell them to go there. Where we saw here that in the relative path, we don't need to care or remember who's the parent of game on and who's the parent of whatever the parent of that was, and so on. Questions or thoughts on that?
The backslash, that's for the space between two words.
That's like a really good question. Yes, this backslash here in Zoom is exactly for what you said, taking account the space. Yeah, in fact, if I don't have it, it will try to go to a directory called Zoom, which doesn't exist. Okay, so I think we can move on to some exercises. So you know how to create files and directories. You know how to move files. Oh, does anyone remember the command to copy files? Joanne? CP, that's right. So let's try it out here. I'm gonna. Oh, actually, this is a good point. CP is the perfect example for the next part, which is the command syntax. So I'm gonna say CP. I have, let's say, maybe this file. I'm gonna copy this file, cp.me.mov. So I'm gonna say cp.me.mov. I'm gonna call it me2.mov, and then I'm gonna hit enter. That just copied me.mov to me2.mov, and if I do ls now, I have me.mov. Cool. So you know functions now, right? So you can think of commands as functions that they take arguments. So for example, CP takes 2 arguments. The first argument is the file you want to copy, like I just did. And the second argument is the file you want to create with the new copy. So CP takes 2 arguments. How many arguments does CD take? Siham or Jonathan? How many arguments does CD takes? If we saw that CP takes 2 arguments. No one? All right. Joanne, do you want to go?
No, I'm just gonna guess 2.
Sure. Okay. it takes actually one, because with CD, you only specify where you want to go, which could be the dot, or it could be, let's say I have something called GIFs, right? So CD takes only one argument, but I think a good point you just made me realize, Joanne, is that the arguments are separated by space. So you can see that CP takes two arguments because there's two things separated by this space. CP takes two arguments. CD only takes one argument, which is where do you want to go, the location you want to move to. Cool. So those are arguments. Anything that you specify after the name of the command is an argument. For example, here there is this command. Which one is the command and which one is the argument? I'll go grab water and I'll be right back. Cool. So in this command that I typed here, which one is the command? Which one is the argument?
npm it's the command and argument is in it.
Exactly. Thank you, Ziam. Exactly. And npm init only takes one argument. Okay. So those are the arguments. Now there is also options or also known as flags. For let's say the ls, let's say ls can take, let's do ls here. So let me go back to my desktop. So now I'm on desktop. I'm gonna clear the screen. ls, how many arguments does ls take? Well, arguments for ls are optional. So ls can take no arguments, which is just ls, the command by itself. And that just lists everything. I have a lot of stuff on my desktop. But ls could also take an argument. Ls could take a path to list from. So if I do ls gifs, now that's going to list the content of my gifs folder. Now, so ls can take an argument, which will be the location. But also ls can take, and other commands can take flags or options, which we already saw, which are generally starting with a hyphen, and we can say LA, or we could actually just say L. And if we do L, and let's say gives, we're gonna see the content of gifs listed as a list. Cool. We see each one of them one per line. So these are known as options or flags. Anything you have after the hyphen. This is the L option or the list option. You could also have LA, but remember that A is for all. That lists, in this case, actually, we can see the difference clearly, where we have 4 gifs. And when I do LSA, not only I get the four images, I also get a DSTOR file, and I get the 2 dots and the dot. The dot is itself is a reference to the folder itself, and the 2 dots is the parent. Now, if you think about it, that's why you can do cd dot dot, because this is that dot dot, and that is a reference to the parent. Okay, so we saw the syntax. So commands can have arguments and they can have options. And we saw the CP can take 2 arguments, etc. Cool. So let's do any questions or thoughts up until this point.
What's the difference between L and LA again?
Yeah, L doesn't show the hidden files, which are these ones. With LA is both list them line 1 per line, and list them all, which means the hidden files, which means anything that starts with a dot. Cool. Okay. One more thing before we move on to the exercises is one last thing is how to get out of trouble. So does anyone know the cat command? Have any of you used the cat command? Actually, I see that now there's only 2 of you. But Siham or Jan, have you ever used the cat command? CAT.
No.
Okay. Okay, maybe. So let's go to see the cat command in action. So the cat command is a helpful command for inspecting files. So I'm actually gonna go back to code. I'm gonna go to game on. I'll do a list here. So I have docs backend and front. I'm gonna go to frontend. And then here I have, a traditional front end in React. So we have a package JSON. So cat can help me see the package JSON without having to open it. If I want to look what's inside, I can open it with VS Code. But if I don't really need to open VS Code, I just want to look at something quick, I could use cat and say cat, the argument is package JSON, the name of the file, package JSON. And if I hit enter, now what cat does, it just prints out the content of the package.json. And I can see the name, I can see my dependencies, Axios, etc. So cat, it literally just prints the content of a file. So it's helpful if you don't want to open the file entirely. Now, this might have happened in a few different contexts to you already. So if I do cat by itself, now my terminal just hung there. I can do. It looks like when I type something, it gets printed twice, but now I cannot type node or cd ... None of that stuff works. What do you do in a situation like this, where your terminal is not responding? What would you usually do? What comes to mind?
I just do
Control C. There you go. Awesome. So if I hit Control C, that quits cat. That's really what it's doing. Cat was running still, and if I do Control C, that quits it. Another command helpful for looking at files. This one, maybe the file is too long. You don't want to open in VS Code. You could use less package JSON. And you have actually touched less already. Maybe you don't call it yourselves. But less, you can see that less doesn't let me, even though it's trying to show me here this other stuff. Less, I'm looking at the package JSON as a whole, and I cannot type. If I type CD, no, it's not working, and I'm getting this weird sound as well. Let me share my sound so you can hear it. Can you hear that? No? Okay.
No.
And that's interesting. My terminal makes a little sound when I try to type CD here. But the point here is that whenever you see this N here at the end or something like that, this is less. Less is also helpful for looking at files, and you can scroll up and down, but with the arrows. Now I'm pressing the arrows up and down, or with J and K. If I do J, I go down. If I do K, I go up. But here, this might be another occasion where you might feel you're stuck. Control C doesn't work here. I'm hitting Control C right now, and it's not working. Any other way of getting out of trouble?
I think, yeah.
Yep. What was that?
I think exclamation mark and then Q&A. I don't know.
Exclamation and Q. Okay, that did something. Press return. Oh, no, it brought me right back. Exclamation, Q, and A. Done. But, and then maybe I can do the Control C here. No, it brought me back. But it's closed. Less is one of what is a common one to get stuck on. It usually happens, I think if you do git commit without a message, I know actually, no, if you do git commit without a message, you are likely to get dumped into Vim, which is to exit from Vim is colon Q and A, as John said. But to get out of less, which is another way to get stuck easy, just Q. Q quits less. So Q to quit from less. And I think if I do git status, looks like I removed some images from here. Let me see. Oops. I think Joanne just went out. Where was I? CD back. If I do, what was it going to show? Oh, git commit. But if you get stuck in Vim, Vim is another terminal. The way in which you can get out of here is by pressing colon Q and A. That quits. So ways of getting out, Control C, just pressing Q, or colon Q and A. See how you're gonna say something.
No.
Okay. Cool. So now we can finally move on to the exercises. So I have these exercises here. Oh. Okay. Would you like to do these exercises, Siam?
No.
Okay, that's fair. Let's leave here then. Do you have any questions or any thoughts?
No, I don't have any question.
Okay, cool. All right, let's leave it here. Yeah, let me know if you have any questions as
Yeah.
stuff comes up.
Alejo, my mom, she's not doing well.
Oh, okay,
So I don't know what's gonna happen from tomorrow and later on. I will keep you in touch.
okay,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay, thank you, Alejo. Have a good
Have a
night.
good night, Sam.
Bye bye.